By the way, I heard you say the Aladdin Empire instead of the Latin Empire. I was like, Aladdin Empire? What happened there?
No, it's the Aladdin Empire 2, Rise of Jafar, the Return of Jafar. So that...
Welcome to Questioning History, where a group of guys with none of the answers ask all of the questions. And we are joined here today, and I'm a little bit starstruck, by Cody from Alternate History Hub. How are you?
Hey!
Hey guys, thank
Welcome,
you for having
Cody.
me on.
And
thank you guys for having me on.
I don't know
Such a
if
pleasure.
anybody doesn't know you already, but for the few morons who don't know you, could you say a little bit about your channel and yourself?
So I am I'm Alternate History channel, and basically I have for years uploaded videos basically asking the what if and how history would have changed if certain events had gone differently. Originally, Alternate History was mostly for science fiction and used to tell interesting stories, but what I really loved is the subsection of history, which was just people imagining, okay, what if things had gone differently, and then going and building realistic scenarios off of that. So that's pretty much what my channel is. There's a few other alternate history channels I've kind of grown throughout the years, but I like to think that I am the hub of alternate history. Ooh, the name. But but yeah, that's basically what I do.
And Pointless Hub is really good, by the way, as well.
Oh, thank you. Pointless Hub has been...
The Transformers ones are awesome. I had to say that.
They're two different energies, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
And I mean, today we're going to be doing a few debates on the wackiest part of history.
Only moments ago, New York has come under attack. Witnesses claim to have seen hundreds of UFOs. It's opening fire! Oh my gosh!
Who are these guys anyway?
Nazis from the moon.
And honestly, it's probably the most entertaining. So I don't know where this is going to go. It's going to get interesting. I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of new audience members today coming for Cody. So just to, let the audience know, the way this works, we each take a rotation. We get about 90 seconds to just say our point. Then we get 60 seconds to destroy the other two guys. Simple. That's it. And on that note, to keep it simple, we're going to ask probably the question, everyone's already anticipating. Question number one is, which period is best suited for alternate history? We'll let the guest choose first.
Oh boy. Okay. So, like you said before we started recording, we're all just gonna say World War II. Yeah. No. I like World War II. I think it's very influential.
Okay.
I think the funnest for me, at least, to do alternate history about is like medieval to like Renaissance time periods. And it's mostly just because it's before the modern period, and it's when nation states were really forming, and that's kind of why I like imagining have a certain battle or a certain aristocrat had lost, then a certain state wouldn't have formed in the way that it did. As an example,
you might want to keep all this fuel for the debate.
Yeah.
Don't give away everything.
Don't waste your shots.
Oh yeah,
you may use them. You may need them.
I'll just say German unification. Anyway, that's it. That's my...
So what your choice as an era? Ancient, medieval, modern. Well, what are you going with?
I would say probably like Renaissance, honestly.
Renaissance.
I would say Renaissance era. Yeah.
Craig?
Age of exploration.
Oh, I'm going to wait for you to say, Georgi, and I'm just going to try and think how you're going to make this be about the Mongols.
Well, you're just talking like a Mongoloid.
I don't give a f***. I am a Mongoloid. In my heart, I'm a Mongoloid. That is what I am. We are a ward. That is what we are. Yes, we are that. We are 100% that.
That's not something to be proud of.
It is something to be proud of.
I don't know if you see this in the description, but this is a random draw question. So I'm gonna go ancient, and I'm guessing you're gonna go modern, but then the dice will decide who gets what on the final end.
I'm gonna snub the audience, and I'm gonna say World War I.
One?
Yeah, instead of
plot twist. That is a plot twist.
Okay.
So you said it's a random draw. So
yes.
Okay. We're shifting to the left. I get, okay, well, for my left, I actually don't know what your cameras are like for you guys. I'll get the ancient. Georgi gets Renaissance. And Cody gets World War One.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
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 I think
All
we can
right.
expand on this. I think Cody can get all of moderns, everything modern. You can get everything medieval, and I get everything ancient. Or which one was it?
I get
That
ancient.
works.
You get, I guess you're calling it medieval, Renaissance.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
sure?
medieval. Perfect. That's my jam.
Okay, sure. So,
All right.
do you want to go first, Georgi, or me?
Sure. Medieval.
It's your backyard, so there you go.
The medieval period is the absolute best period to do ancient history in, because the ancient period is too far away, and it's completely fiction when you start talking about if Caesar died early or if Alexander lived longer. It's much more complicated to go further to a point when we can relate more to, and it's just completely science fiction. The modern era, on the other hand, yeah, you have a lot of details and sources there, but unfortunately, it's just like, I feel like that alternative history should be a bit more of an escape, and the perfect balance between the two is the medieval period, where all these nation states are becoming their own. You're gaining a really good idea of how culture interacts with geography, interacts with governments, and you get such a good balance between sources and people, and you have a little bit of everything. There's just so much color in the medieval period that's just lacking from the ancient and the modern period. And then I'm talking color in every aspect you can think of, from how people waged war to what moral and value systems they had. And there's just so much discovery in that period. So when you're talking about an alternative history scenario, you want to go into a direction that will end up with a completely different outcome, and for that direction to be conceivable and realistic. The only time when you get this is in the medieval period, where the other two are either too fictional or too similar.
All right. And as you can see, Cody, I do the silly thing with my hands, and it honestly really helps.
It's good to see that in practice, huh? Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
All right, so ancient, taking me out of my element.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's a no-brainer. Mine changes the most out of the three of us. Your states maybe don't exist, or they're unbelievable Goliaths. Like, I don't know, it's Holy Britannia or all of a sudden, because Britain wins the American Revolution or something like that. But like, there's huge events that change everything. What if Athenian democracy never comes about? What if Alexander the Great doesn't spend all of his time crying in tents?
And Lyta spoke true. I have become a tyrant.
And really does a better job of, maintaining less alcohol consumption and not dying. Then maybe there's more Hellenism going around the world. What if Julius Caesar actually formed the empire he wanted with Cleopatra? There's a lot of craziness. You don't even know how far it's going to go in the future. It has this incredible butterfly effect that overwhelms both of yours. And not to mention the amount of characters that have so much significance and influence, because back then, if you're the ruler of, let's say, Macedonia, like Alexander the Great, like, you could really do something. The ancient world is completely different. The world was your oyster. Sure, there was limitations to things, but they could have found the new world earlier, perhaps. Anything could have happened. Whereas, the both of you have some limitations on yours, especially with, modern history. It can only affect so much because it's just about like 100 or so years ago. As for the Middle Ages, it's like you said, the states have already been formed at that point, most of them. So there's not a grand amount that can be changed, unlike ancient history. And I'm out of time.
Nice.
Well, as you see, modern's just the best. And you can see it in the numbers. You can see it in what the scenarios are. World War I, World War II, the Cold War. Yes, the states are already formed, and it's only a span of about 150 years, but a lot happens in that 150 years. We go from people being in horse and buggies to going to the moon. And so there's so much you can play off of in that little span of time. And just in those first like 40 years of the 1940s, Modern is the best because we have the clash of ideologies. We have the clash of worlds: communism, fascism, democracy, monarchy, and even the decolonization of former European empires. Yeah, Rome and, you know, Britain and stuff are like interesting, and the 7 Years' War, sure. But I'm more interested in what if those empires continued on in the 20th century? What if they didn't collapse in failure? That makes you think. Or even going in further in the 20th century, if the USSR didn't collapse, what if communism had won? That is a thing that the ancient and medieval worlds really don't have. Which monarch wins? That's boring. I want to see ideologies and entire societies change, and that's what the modern world can offer us.
Perfect.
Oh, really good.
All right, Mr. Georgi.
Okay. You know me, guys. I gotta go controversial on this, and I will just say that from all the Paradox games, EU4 is the best because you have so much to play with. This is the best exercise in thinking and hypothesizing about alternative histories, playing as all those states. I have a similar problem with both of your arguments, and that is that the playground is just not fun, not that fun. You may have more pieces on the board, but they're on the same. They're just like two different shades that are vastly different. But with my playground, you have so many different states, so many different ways it can go. There's just so much more interaction, and every piece is connected with each other. With the ancient world, okay, Caesar, Alexander, like you're talking about these monolith empires that have no real rivals, and they're just sitting there by themselves, and maybe someone else picked them up. With them, with communism versus capitalism, democracy, whatever. Yeah, blue versus red. It's just like I want more pieces on the board. Yeah, it's not just the monarchs, it's the figures, it's the states, it's the how all of them are connected with each other. More variety.
Got any big figures in the ancient world? What are you talking about? All right, so I guess Alexander didn't have a Darius to face. I mean, the guy screwed up, mind you, but he had a big hand to play. He could have won. The Persians could have reigned supreme for much longer. As for the Middle Ages, you know, come on. It's like everyone is kind of doing the same thing at that point. I mean, sure, you got like the Mongolians, the horseback archers. Oh, that's really original. All the steppe people are doing that, okay? And you know what? They're lucky the Chinese lost them. The Chinese were too busy fighting themselves. And as for the modern era, it goes without saying, we got enough books at this point on World War II. It's about 50% of them. The other 20% is probably like World War I. Then you get the little sprinkle of, oh, what if JFK was killed? No, come on. If you want to hear about like, what if Alexander he had a moment of clarity and he stopped drinking, and then he just ushered in more brutality, more carnage, killed Indians and horrible stuff, and then his empire was, you know, it didn't fragment and cause more wars and more states. Done.
Yay, genocide.
Yay, what if Alexander didn't drink and genocided the Indians?
And burned more cities down.
I'd watch it. One, that was a low blow bringing EU4, because now I have to bring in Hearts of Iron 4. I just have
bring
to.
It.
Now, I will admit, Hearts of Iron 4 in the base game is boring. But if there's one thing that it does more than anything, it's the mods, baby. And I have to bring in Kaiserreich. If there's anything that tells you how good modern alternate history can be, it's Kaiserreich. And that isn't even about the entire world. That's just about the United States falling apart. And the beauty of having so many different ideologies and crossroads is you can have democratic socialist South led by Huey Long fighting against a syndicalist North, and New England just kind of sits it off in the background. You can have MacArthur become a dictator. You can have whatever the Pacific states do. I forgot what they did. But and that's just in one little country. That's the thing. Hearts of Iron 4 mods show the beauty that is modern alternate history, because you can just throw anything at the board and people actually know what it is. And I'm done.
That's a really good ending. People actually know what it is. It's true.
We did a practice debate and you were like, how did you jump?
The guy's a pool
Super
shark.
Saiyan. What happened? What?
He pool shark.
That's.
Oh my gosh, that was unbelievable right there. I might would I might kill myself if somebody made that on me.
That's why we have a practice debate.
Yeah.
Oh my
You got me
God. Okay. Wow. No, I want revenge. He crushed us both on this one.
Oh yeah.
Bring on the next one. This is gonna be savage.
All right. Well, this one is another, a crowd pleaser, and it's one that they're obviously expecting. You pick a battle. The reversal of this battle would lead to of any battle you can pick. Which one, if reversed, would lead to the most interesting scenario?
Oh, gonna have to think about that.
You got everything out there. You got Battle of Midway. You got anything you can imagine.
Ooh.
Siege of Vienna. All the big ones.
I think I have one.
I usually would go with another one, but I'm sticking with the U4 team and going with Battle of Varna 1444.
Okay.
Oh.
Cody, what do you got?
It's not really a battle. I'm just gonna go with all of the Fourth Crusade sack against Constantinople.
That works. Yeah, if the result of the first siege was reversed, and the Crusaders somehow maybe got a plague and died.
Yes, if that just didn't happen.
A storm hit them on the Adriatic, and they all
if they just
died.
didn't go as far as they did, or slaughter the entire population, or anything. There was a lot that could have just gone differently.
They didn't slaughter anybody
in Constantinople.
Yeah, they killed very few people.
They still sacked the city and left the institution weak. We're saying that for the debate, so that's why I'm gonna.
Yeah, he's baiting you to that.
Okay.
I mean, I'm the Pacific War Channel, so I don't want to be cliche and pick like a Pacific, like Midway or Pearl Harbor or something. I'm gonna try and narrow. I'll try and narrow it down to a World War I battle, and just because it's World War I is just like it's actually like 30 battles that could have just tipped the scales. The first Battle of the Marne, so one of the earliest battles that occurs.
That works.
All right.
I think it's the most significant, actually.
I went first last time, maybe. So either you or Cody.
I guess I can go.
Sure.
I guess I'll go. Okay. So, yes, granted this. So Constantinople. Granted, it's not really a battle per se. I mean, it is a battle, but I would say the change here would simply be that the city doesn't lose its defenses and it isn't sacked. And yes, as you said, a lot of people were not killed, but what it did do is it weakened the empire just enough that it led to the Latin Empire, and it eventually led to the fall of Eastern Rome as we know it once the Turks eventually enveloped the city, a few hundred years later. But it was the thing that started it all in the first place. So even if the battle itself isn't as eventful, and Rome's get sacked from time to time, it was the definitive one that led to eventually the Ottomans as we know them taking over the Eastern Mediterranean.
Well, you still have 30 seconds if you want it.
Oh, I do have 30 seconds. I will say
why would that be a cool scenario?
Why would it be okay, so in terms of like why would it be very influential? I mean, that changes basically Renaissance Europe leading into the pre-modern age, because the Ottomans were were kind of the biggest competitor to the Austrians and Italians and the Eastern Europe, and just the change from the fall of you're making me explain it, and now I have
I know.
By the way, I heard you say the Aladdin Empire instead of the Latin Empire. I was like, Aladdin Empire? What happened there?
No, it's the Aladdin Empire 2, Rise of Jafar, the Return of Jafar. So that's what
I was gonna say. My Crusader knowledge isn't that good, but I'm like, I heard Aladdin. I was like, wait, what?
Sorry, I have a terrible problem pronouncing my T's, so I have to say Latin. The Latin.
Latin.
Yes, not Latin.
All right. I'm realizing now that I am not a scholar. World War One. I'm gonna try and remember Okay, I think I remember this battle pretty well. I know the underlying principle of what screwed this up. All right,
gotta break out a book.
So to set it up, I think a lot of people who know a little bit about World War One know about the Schlieffen Plan. So the whole idea behind it was to take the fist of Germany and put about 90% of that and just knock out the West first, and then come back and, you know, just push over the Russians. They were basically suckers this whole time anyways. But von Moltke, the younger, he screwed it all up. And this really happened during the First Battle of the Marne. So there was like kind of three things that he really messed up. First of all, the placement of where he was putting his units. He kind of saw that the French were going to attack Alsace-Lorraine, and he freaked out, even though part of the actual Schlieffen Plan was to allow the French to get in there so they could be encircled, because you take away their logistics. And then to add insult to injury, for no apparent reason, he takes 4 units and he sends them all the way back to the Eastern Front to help like Hindenburg and Erich von Ludendorff defeat the Russians. They don't even get there in time. And Hindenburg and Ludendorff, they win this incredible victory without them, just smash the Russians. It's really embarrassing. So they weren't necessary. And basically, the argument is by a lot of historians that this, amongst the other battles in the first, few months of 1914, they would have took France. They would have took Paris. They already had northern France. They had the industrial sector. So this effectively, this probably would have won World War I for them, because the British were going to just run to their boats at that point. And I think we can all agree, if Germany won World War I, especially that early on, we're looking at a lot less blood and probably a better world, more peaceful. Done.
That was a hot take. Hot take.
Hot take.
European Union 100 years ago. That's what it would have led to.
And it'll still crumble.
It'll.
Speaking of European unions.
Oh, yes. God. Here we go.
The Battle of Varna is profoundly impactful, and if it was reversed, and it almost happened, the Europeans charged into the Ottoman camp, and they almost did it, if not for the king of Hungary, Poland, and Lithuania dying as young as he was. Should the Europeans take that battle, the Ottomans are done. We're talking Ankara. We're talking a very young Mehmed who has no one to lead him, a devastated Ottoman army, a rejuvenated Byzantine Empire, a united morale between the Europeans, a legitimacy for this guy with Janos Hunyadi being his right-hand man, incredible general that would have pushed the Ottomans all the way back to Asia. We're talking about a scenario where, on the Battle of Varna, there was a Bulgarian pretender who was ready to retake the Bulgarian land. So Bulgaria would be reinstated, the Balkans would be free from all Ottoman influence, and the Ottomans, as we know them in our timeline, would be completely gone. Just imagine that. 1444, Constantinople doesn't fall, the Catholic League establishes a huge bond. You have a whole block on the east or Central Europe being unified by this victory. And of course, all doubts would be put to rest. This would create a new dynasty between these 3 massive nations, including Croatia even. And how cool would this be? I'm about to rip these other 2 guys apart and say how their reversal of their battles barely leads to nothing. But my scenario, just think what the lack of Ottomans would do for the whole world.
No, the Ottomans weren't around during World War I.
You know what I'm gonna say? Georgie's argument was so good. I can't. That's the better Ottoman argument, I would say. That blows mine out of the water. So much so, I'm gonna change my battle midway through. I know I can't do that, but I'm gonna do it because I'm gonna change it to the Battle of San Juan Hill.
Wait, brakes aren't working. No, I'm saying no. The brakes. Guys, why aren't the brakes working?
Because I cut the brakes! Wild card, bitches! Yeah! What?
And it's even though it's very unlikely. The Americans had 8,000 troops and the Spanish only had like 500. I don't know how Spain would lose that. But if future President Teddy Roosevelt somehow led the charge and lost, that would change his political record forever. That would change his path to the White House. That would change how we're on my argument right now, right? I'm not.
Yeah, I'm talking.
Yeah.
Okay, that would change how trust busting and going after the monopolies would go in the early 20th century. Because if San Juan Hill had been lost somehow, then Teddy Roosevelt wouldn't be the political figure that we have one of the best, in my opinion, presidents the U.S. ever had. The best, I will say.
Whoa.
We have the same opinion.
Except for the Latin American stuff, they kind of did a little bit. Other than that, I would say he's
Banana Republics.
The best. Yeah, just a few bananas in the republics. It's okay.
Wow, that's a first
So
on the show, but I really liked it.
A few relatives who own rights in those republics.
Oh yeah, just stuff better than Woodrow Wilson. So
screw Woodrow Wilson.
Yeah, as Cypher often says. So
okay, so I actually freaking Teddy's my favorite freaking president. I'm sure everyone on this on it watches this knows that because I keep bringing him up. So now I got to go after Teddy. Okay.
Oh no.
All right.
I know it was a little underhanded. I apologize.
No. I'm gonna go after Georgi first, though.
Go on.
So the reason why Cody, he got out of the whole Constantinople thing is because it was gonna fall anyways. Like, come on, it's insignificant. How many names has the place had? Sorograd, as you used to say, Milkovad, Istanbul. Now, like, it was coming at any point. And as for the Ottomans, like, oh, whoop-de freaking do. They have like their little grace period for a few hundred years, and then they become the sick man of Europe by like the 19th century. It's not a big whoop-de-do. The Ottomans, what did they actually do? And then as for Teddy, yeah, if he somehow lost that colossally one-sided battle, I mean, he would just go on to, write more of those 1812 books where he just talks about the naval battles and doesn't acknowledge Canada won the war. And then he would probably go off into the wilderness and, build another ranch. But I think he'd still become president because there's no stopping that man. Asthma didn't stop him. So just some few Spaniards on a hill.
Bullet didn't stop him.
A bullet didn't stop him.
A bullet didn't stop him either. Thank you. So Eddie's still going to become president. I'm done.
Okay, this debate is totally hitting the fan, so I will change my approach as well.
It's just going to go into Teddy posting. That's all it's going to go into.
No. I'm going all in on the sack because if the question is which reversal would make for the best alternative history hub video, it's so weird because this is the choice and also it's not. Nothing changes and also everything changes. So let's get it straight. The sack of Constantinople it created the Latin Empire, which can definitely be seen as a successor of the Roman Empire. It acted like it walked, talked, and acted exactly like a Roman Empire, a bad one, like another shitty dynasty after the Angloid one. Not a lot of people died. A lot of things got sacked. But what if the Renaissance? What if that kickstarted the Renaissance? What if you reverse that outcome? And because the city doesn't get sacked, the Renaissance comes in much later. Think about that. And also, the city is cooked, but not what you think because of the Mongols. Like the Mongols are coming in 50 years later, and they will just trash Anatolia and maybe more. They did make it to Constantinople and make it a tributary, which a lot of people don't know. Anyway, so not that great of an interesting scenario because in 50 years they come in, but at the same time, a very interesting scenario because it's a very interesting event. That is amazing.
What's the Renaissance? That doesn't exist. There was no Dark Age.
What? I've never heard of these terms before. I don't know what this.
What are these terms?
Yeah.
All this historical terminology. We're in fiction here. Come on, boys.
All right.
We're in the middle of the glorious Roman Empire. That's it. Nothing else has happened yet.
Cody, just destroy us.
Okay. Teddy. That's it. That's all you gotta know.
Teddy
stick.
No Teddy. Bad. Good. Teddy exists. Good. That's all. That's
Rough
all I
Rider.
have to say.
Did you really put him above Washington and Lincoln, though?
We've had this conversation before.
Yeah, Washington owned slaves, and I mean, Lincoln's hard. I at least Teddy. I don't know. I'd say Lincoln and Teddy are kind of two. You can't. They're kind of pretty similar in terms of the good things they've done. I mean, maybe Teddy's a little bit less because at least Lincoln saved the Union, and he probably had a lot more, I would say, civil rights leanings than he let on, simply because of the time that he lived. Teddy did do the banana republics that we said, and that's a little point against him. I can't really think of anything tremendously bad that Lincoln really did other than I guess native wars and his plan to bring the slaves like to Latin America or Africa, but like those are just plans. Teddy actually did have like a negative impact on Latin America. So I guess you could put Lincoln a little bit higher, and then Teddy, but also Teddy really helped with crushing monopolies, which has a real impact on us today. So domestically, Teddy's the best. Foreign policy wise, Lincoln's probably the best, because also the Emancipation Proclamation was international policy to get Britain and France from, supporting the South, which they weren't really going to do anyway, but it was still to really hone in, hey, don't support these guys. So yeah,
true.
I don't know, that was a rant.
That was a rant. That was some controversial topics, but I doubt you beat my take where Craig forced me to argue why the assassination of Lincoln was a good thing on 4th of July. On 4th of July.
On 4th of July.
That is a hot take. That is okay.
It was not my opinion. I was forced into that debate.
My favorite though was
you
argument.
You were forced.
Yeah.
Yes. That
he basically was like
Johnson. That's harsh.
It's like, oh well, Lincoln did everything he had to do before he was shot.
But here's Cody kind of redeeming my argument, because he's saying that maybe if he lived long enough, he would have done some shitty things.
Maybe he needed votes.
I mean, what shittier than Johnson? It's doubtful.
Yeah.
But anyway, I get you off topic. But yes, Teddy,
love it.
Teddy win that good. So that's the argument.
All right.
Oh, if only Teddy got that third term as a independent, that would have changed the United States forever.
It truly would have, yes.
Okay, well, you know what? Andrew Yang's going to do it, right? Don't worry. All right, here's another banger. This is a good question.
Okay.
Pick a very popular alternate history scenario. Which one is the most absurd?
Ooh.
And I would lend it to even certain books or shows and stuff too, of course.
Okay.
So are we talking just generic scenarios, or are we talking about anything that people have wrote in fiction?
I'd say both.
Say both.
Something that people would understand and have some ideas of. Maybe they heard it. Maybe it's a period they know a little bit more of.
Maybe then keep it to something that's been written, or like a movie or a show or something.
Maybe. Okay.
All right, I'm gonna have to think about this a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't want to take one that I think pretty much everyone, like the freshest one that Cody has talked about, actually. The easy one would be The Man in the High Castle. Oh, the book.
Yeah.
I think Germany winning World War II in many ways is and that's ironically it's the most popular, but it's also it's kind of I guess I can take World War II. I guess I can do that.
Take it.
Go for
it. You can take
that. I'll do Germany
or
winning.
You can take Germany winning.
Just Germany winning. I'll say. Generic Germany wins plan. I want to rant about that actually.
All right. Do I want to go with Alexander? For some reason, because we talked about American presidents, I thought there is this idea that Washington could have became a king and made America a monarchy. But
I got one in mind, but it is a written thing, but I can use it as a scenario, and it's wonkier than anything you both will come up with.
Oh, really?
It's a really goofy one.
There are a lot, because I just did an iceberg video of all the alternate timelines, and it's there's so many that are just their basis just makes you laugh. But I'm trying to stick to the ones people. No, there was one that was about. No, sorry. Continue.
No worries. I'm gonna go with Japan beating America.
Okay.
A lot of people go, Pearl Harbor, if the carriers were there and Japan invades California, kind of the same.
Feasible. Yeah.
Right. It is popular, right?
Yeah.
I guess so. Oh, you know what?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I don't tread on your toes. I'm gonna go with America loses the revolution.
Okay.
I'm gonna go
Is
with
the
that
most
because
absurd.
I've seen a well, not the most absurd. It's just how it's depicted in
Okay.
fiction. I've seen what a America that's still under British rule looks like, and it's kind of it makes me laugh. So
All right.
right.
So
Good choices.
mine is science fiction-y, and it's really weird. There's an anime adaptation to this, and it's what if War of the Worlds happened in 1899?
oh wow.
By the way, Cody, I prefer you go with Germany because it's gonna make more of a contrast between
Okay,
which
so
is
you
more
don't want
absurd.
to Okay, that works. I can do that too. All
Yeah,
right,
and
I'll
he
do
can
that.
talk about aliens.
Yeah,
Oh,
we'll
not
bounce off
necessarily.
each other. That
It's
works.
actually about Teddy. That's why I'm talking about it.
There we go. Gotta bring
Okay,
Teddy up
I
in
guess
every
I'm
question.
going first, right?
Have I gone first yet?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think it's you. Yeah,
I think so. Okay.
yes, it is. Sorry.
All right, I can't believe I'm bringing up this really stupid anime. Okay. War of the Worlds Goliath was a idea that in 1899, War of the Worlds happens just the way that the actual novel by H.G. Wells goes. But, after killing 140 million people, the aliens die of the stupid, goofy bacteria, and then they go home. But Nikola Tesla, as a scientist, rallying with everybody around the world, led by the war minister, Teddy Roosevelt, they reverse engineer the alien technology because they know the aliens are going to come back one day to attack them. We're on the edge of World War I. Archduke Ferdinand gets shot. Everyone's about to go to war. The freaking aliens come back. How are they going to defeat these aliens? Teddy Roosevelt in a goddamn mech suit is how. With Nikola Tesla's stupid scientific mind making all these weapons that use like the alien rays that you saw in War of the Worlds against the aliens. And then like we have all these kind of situations where Germany and Russia have to team together, but everyone's kind of against each other. Even the Japanese are for some reason much more like their World War II counterpart 1914 than they should be, and it's weird that way. But the only man who could get them all together is Teddy Roosevelt, who actually forsakes being president apparently in this. And then when, all the ashes are done and everyone is, the few remaining survivors are there, Teddy Roosevelt says to all of them, now we're going to take the war to Mars. Done.
Hell yeah. Woo!
USA.
I buy that. I'll destroy with the counter. Like that's super believable. Teddy, Tesla. I'm sorry, but terrible choice.
I see nothing historically wrong with that at all.
Me too.
Who wants to go
100%
next?
seal of approval. I guess I'll go next.
Okay.
Yeah. So Germany winning World War II is not only one of the most unrealistic scenarios, I think it actually perpetually is actually harmful because it kind of helps the image of Nazi Germany even like 80 years after they've lost. Because every depiction of Germany in World War II is that they are a global spanning empire that have troops everywhere. They can control America, they can control Asia, they can control Africa, and man the High Castle is the main thing of that. But because of that, people kind of retroactively view the Germans as stronger than they really were. And it's like, yes, if they had won, they wouldn't have won World War II, mainly just because of their oil and the fact that Germany was located between three global powers. It just, there's many videos and many talking points about how the Germans were not this technological mega machine that we often are depicted, and a lot of what we think of Germany as super powerful was from their own propaganda. And so because of that, when we talk about, oh, Germany wins an alternate history, it's like they have these futuristic machines and stuff which they would not have had at all. Realistically, if Germany had even somehow won World War II, they would have collapsed within themselves just because of their own ideology. So yes, I'm done.
Pretty much. It's almost like you could do a 4-part series on that.
Honestly, oh yeah, I know. What's his Potential Histories videos are just the best in disproving all of that. I love his the whole thing, mostly just about like talking about how their oil was going to run out, and that's just never talked about. It makes anything like Man the High Castle just, I know it's like fiction, but it just makes me laugh whenever I see it. So
all right, Georgi,
this is gonna be a tough one. Also, potential history, like I remember the intro still to this day, like so clearly in my head with the time machine and SpongeBob. But anyway, when you're talking about your two scenarios, I think what you need to change in terms of levers is changing a lot of external factors. But with Japan, you have to change everything. There's so many domestic things that are wrong that it's totally absurd to even conceive of the idea that this is a lasting empire, that this is a goal that could be achieved in any sort of way. With the Germany and even the aliens, okay, I'm changing one lever, I'm giving you the aliens, Germany, I'm changing a couple of levers, making other people weaker. Maybe Roosevelt dies early and there's a lot of discontent in America. Maybe there's a coup in the Soviet Union. Like, I'm changing some external levers, and the domestic power of the Germans, which although overplayed, they can still trample over their external foes. The Japanese were completely fighting each other all the time, all the different sectors, all the rivalry they had. So many things. I'm grateful for Craig teaching me, because now I know that no matter what happens externally, the domestic alone is enough to make Japan weak. It's the hardest campaign of the two to make happen in Hearts of Iron. America is just like, it's not the same weight category. It's just not even close. GDP wise, logistics wise, unity, going to California, like why, what's the strategic value there? It's like they did the maximum amount they could do with their domestic issues, and that's it. It's absurd.
Okay. So I was first, so I get to do my rebuttal.
You have to say why our
yours
two
are
choices
least...
are reasonable.
Yeah. You fools. So we'll start
like
off by
front.
saying I don't have to differentiate you. You're the axis, because you're both together in this. And you are both coordinating and actually talking to each other in my scenario. So Operation Barbarossa actually works, and the Japanese do come at the right time, because for some strange reason they overcome a ton of things that would be unreasonable for Hoku Shinran to work, but it works out because they know what's going to happen because of some magical thingamajig, and they're going to win World War II easily because they're going to coordinate, they're going to talk, maybe they'll go through, the Middle East like they were planning to, and perhaps Japan will realize, yeah, Pearl Harbor was not a good idea, and I just won't do that. I'll just help Germany. We'll conquer this, and then we'll do what we have to do later. It's not unreasonable. That's why there's like 100 million books on it as an alternate history, because people really felt that somehow Germany was going to magically, synthetically make oil, just like the Japanese tried, and it'll work. Fun.
I like this idea that now us as the Axe powers have to defend ourselves about why we suck. So it's like, oh, actually, we're the worst entity. We couldn't do anything right. This is why. So I guess
that being said, you made our scenarios even more absurd than they originally were.
A little bit, yeah.
Meeting together in the Middle East,
it really
high-fiving
helped
each other.
Yeah, we can actually do it.
It could happen. You could have Tojo and Hitler just like high five.
Yeah,
Tojo was a Hitler fanboy.
He would do it. He would fist bump him. So
fist bump.
I mean,
let's fist bump in Siberia.
Fist bump in Siberia.
Only half an ocean away.
Yeah.
All right.
I guess. Oh man, how do I rebut? I can't rebuttal robot like Teddy at all, and I can't really. Okay, I'll just say Japan was. There was a situation that. I don't know. I feel like I'm team killing now. I feel like I'm turning on my own. Are we a united front now? Okay.
You're
right. I'm gonna at least say Germany was just had everybody hate them. Germany was surrounded by enemies. Japan, yes, they had China, and yes, they had the Soviets, but the Soviets were not paying attention to them until they did. Japan at least had the weak island nations, you could call it. They could make maybe a small little empire. I can't say any of this with sincerity because I just know it's wrong. But I guess Germany was just, they could never, you know what? This is how I'm going to refrain it. Germany couldn't have the global spanning empire that every scenario says they could have. Could they have won World War II? Maybe in a technicality, if like America didn't feel like doing anything and they didn't invade the Soviet Union and it was just they invaded Poland, maybe. But Japan, but like in terms of the global spanning empire, I think that's the most laughable scenario because Germany was okay. You know what I mean. There's a lot. You have Robot Teddy. I have to explain why Nazi Germany couldn't work.
Yeah. Actually, that was actually a solid choice with Robot Teddy. How is that scenario the most reasonable one of the?
It's so ridiculous.
We have to do like Wikipedia articles for why all of this couldn't work.
Okay. Why is Robot Teddy and Hitler winning the war reasonable?
Think about the sentence you just said.
Yeah. Let me give it my best shot.
Problem is, I genuinely agree that Robot Teddy is reasonable, so that's why I can't argue against it.
You are really just missing aliens. Give me aliens, and people will start appreciating Tesla for the mad genius that he actually was. Teddy would give him all of the funding, and that would actually happen. It may not happen exactly like you describe it, and they may not even go to Mars, but Mecha Teddy, I totally see that. It's like Mecha Teddy, the Rough Rider. I can see that. That's such a good movie. As for Germany winning, I think you underestimate the German Empire. It's still unfeasible, but like, ask yourself this. Who is more likely to run an empire more efficiently, Japan or Germany? Like, Japan can maintain their own islands together with some unity. And of the two, which is more absurd, it absolutely is Japan. Like, Germany had a plan and a solution. Maybe it was not the final solution, but at least it had a plan. Japan had no idea. They had no idea what they were doing.
German, that's a great argument. Germany at least had a solution. My God.
Craig's gonna put this in the trailer, aren't you?
Oh yeah, this is going in the trailer.
No.
I created this personalized air filter for people that really care about the air that they breathe. Breaths of fresh air. Comes a free armband that says, I'm the solution. As in, I'm the solution to pollution. Is there a problem right now?
On top of your quote, I like the genocide.
No, God, no.
On one hand, Robot Teddy. On the other hand, genocide.
I can just picture Cody literally an hour ago going, okay, podcast, I gotta prepare. I gotta like, who knows what they're gonna throw questions at me.
I was thinking it was gonna be like a Q&A sort of thing. I like this better.
No.
This works better. It's a lot better.
Oh, later there'll be Q&A.
Well, it was just so what was that about? That's the first question.
This one is I'm gonna make it a trick question. Actually, I'll do that. Right. So I just want you to pick an alternate history scenario, and honestly, the world's your oyster. It can be just the same as the previous question. It could be a piece of literature. It could just be a scenario, whatever you want.
Okay, Cody, I'm gonna need you here. If you want, you can pitch in with me. Maybe Craig can do it as well. List out some of your videos. I'll write them down in a randomizer.
Okay. Yeah, I'll lift. Let me go through my channel.
Blitz fire your videos. Let's go.
Yeah, let's find the good ones. Oh boy. So we'll do. Okay, let's do. What if Britain lost the 7 Years' War?
Okay.
What if Alexander the Great never died young?
Okay.
Let's do. What if Trotsky came to power instead of Stalin?
Okay, I like it.
I mean, we can do. Do you want to do a geography one?
Sure.
Yeah, throw
Can
geography.
we?
on.
I love the what if Antarctica was a green continent idea.
God, yeah.
Okay.
And then, I'm just looking. Oh, what if? Okay, this is a big one. What if the nuclear bomb didn't exist? That's one. I'm going through like
exist.
old. I'm going through old videos.
All right. I'll throw in two of my own.
Yeah, we can do like a World War II. We can do a World War II or a more general one too. Yeah, any of those.
I'm going with no Mongols or no Chinggis, no unification of the Mongols. That might be fun.
That's not a world that you'd be able to survive in, Georgi.
Yeah, just we would miss out on so much plague and genocide, like so boring.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who
People's
wants to
well-being would
actually...
not raise because like there would be so many people and the salaries wouldn't be. Yeah, it's just not that interesting.
It's an interesting
Craig,
direction.
you wanna throw one more into the pot? I'll go no Fourth Crusade. I'll go no First Crusade.
You know what? To be cliche, Pacific War Channel. What if Pearl Harbor went much better?
Better Pearl Harbor. Okay.
Better Pearl Harbor.
Okay. So who's coming with me in the pot? I'm gonna randomize all of these, and you guys can pick some of your own if you want. But I'm gonna randomize, and I'll get the third item on this list whenever it's randomized.
Just force us to pick whatever you got there.
Yep.
No, pick a number. Pick a number from 1 to 1, 2, 3, 4. From 1 to 9.
Oh, wow.
7.
7. I'm 3. 7. Cody.
5.
5. Okay. No First Crusade for me. 5 is Trotsky, and 7 is Britain lost 7 Years War.
Okay.
These align quite nicely, actually.
I was trying to do ones that like balance that were like in different eras. So
it's perfect. Different eras. I don't know if you know this, but Craig is in Quebec. So this would be very interesting.
Oh my god, I'm gonna go wild on this.
So what's the plot twist? What's going on?
It's a world you have to live in.
Oh!
So you just gave me.
Oh.
Wow. Okay.
So I can lie. I'll just
That's
lie
fitting.
to the audience and say that it's great being an Anglophone living in a French-dominated area of the world.
Okay.
Well.
All right. And am I living? I'm living today, right? I'm living in the same world, same place, but in a world where the First Crusade never happened. Oh,
That's a little hard. That's a little hard.
I'll give it a crack. I'll give it a go.
I guess with mine's would be Trotsky. So
yours is
honestly
very interesting.
Mine's is pretty much just modern leftism changing. So yeah, okay, I can do that. Yeah, that's
so we need to establish what happens in our scenario. Craig, bump this up to 2 minutes.
Okay.
On the main arguments at least, because we'll need to establish what our scenario is like, and then why would be better for us to live in it.
Why would it be better? Is that the Is that the plot?
Yeah. It has to. Yeah. So let me follow it through. First Crusade, Northern.
Oh my god, I got a lot to say for this, but I gotta tone down the Quebec stuff.
Man.
I got it.
So we're basically creating an alternate history, and we're just gonna like make it like flowery and nice.
Yes.
It's propaganda from the perspective of that alternate timeline. So it's just
I'm gonna go hard on the French here and apologize in advance to all of our French viewers. But you probably hate us already because of Craig, so it's fine.
Yeah, mange la merde de sti de tabarnak là.
I'm ready to go.
All right, go for it. 2 minutes of creating your world.
When discussing what would have happened differently in our world if there were no Crusades, there's many ways you can go. But I'm going to go for a little bit of different one that you probably haven't heard. Think about this. Most of the Crusades happened because of French knights. And all of these French knights, instead of fighting for France and their king and doing all these dynastical disputes in France, obviously killing each other, but also killing a lot of Englishmen and Holy Roman Empire and Italians and Spaniards, it's going to have a big impact taking them all from the Levant and putting them right back to France. They have nothing to do in the East. There's chilling in France, and what happens? France becomes a Carolingian European massive superpower. With all of that manpower, elite, well-equipped, rich manpower to spend in conquests into Germany, into Italy, into Spain, into England even. France had a stronger navy. People forget. They did make it into England. People forget. We would be living in a absolutely francophone world. And just imagine that. Just close your eyes for a little bit and think of how it will work, how the whole world would look like if it's more like Quebec. Terrible. And no, I mean amazing. No, I mean amazing. I would actually love to, fuck, I forgot. I would love to live in this world because all of the Dark Ages are now gone. France creates a renaissance in the 12th century. Europe is unified. Culture springs open because there's less dynastical disputes and murdering everyone. You have a Carolingian Empire spanning Western and Central Europe. And it's like a Pax Francia. And instead of fighting each other, they go do science. They discover the New World much earlier. And we're living 300 years in the future right now because the Crusades don't happen. I would love to live in this world. Thank you, France. Thank you for not spending so much time and power and money into a lost cause in Jerusalem and building a better world.
Done.
Thanks, France.
All right. So, I
totally forgot the question.
I guess I'll follow it up because mine kind of goes in the same direction. So,
yeah?
What?
It's just French posting now. That's all this is.
Juste pour commencer, là. Tout ce que je dis, c'est pas vrai. Non, c'est pas vrai. Okay? All right. Oh, God, I have to argue this. So, Montcalm isn't an incompetent, complete asshole. And he actually uses the natives and the Quebecois to fight an effective war like his predecessor, the Prussian general there, who actually did a good job. And he not only defeats Wolfe, like he defeats the entire forces of the colonies down south with 10% of the population. And then the French Empire defeats everybody else in Europe with the navy that they had. And yeah, it goes super well. And with only 10% of the population of Nouvelle-France, the colonies down south just listen to them and they accept Roman Catholicism and the new law system, because we have a different law system than the English, and it's more codified, so there's a lot more laws, and it's great, and a lot of people are happy.
Better language.
And since the French are incapable of controlling the colonists, they're just too happy to have a revolution because they don't need one, because the French can't overly tax them like the dicks that are the British. And
yeah,
the French Revolution doesn't happen because everyone just loves the monarchy because they made the most incredible victory in human history. And Napoleon becomes a king. Like, sure, because he has nothing else he can do. And there's no Napoleonic Wars. So there's a lot more people. And everybody's eating French food. So yeah, everybody's happy. And then the community de francophonie is much bigger. So everybody gets to learn a language that's the most difficult thing to write, and that even the French can't freaking write their own language. But this is great. Everyone is good. I'm done.
Oh my God.
Yo, I'm like not going to be able to leave my house.
We're done. We're done. We can call this the Devil's Advocate podcast.
That was like that scene where they had to keep the eyes open in Clockwork Orange.
Do you speak English? Parlez-vous anglais? Excuse me, or I'm sorry. Excusez-moi.
And just like stare at a French flag. That's all that was.
Oh my God. 2 minutes. Yeah.
Oh man. How can I can't top that. So I guess Lenin. Lenin takes over instead of Stalin? I would say this is actually a better timeline for two groups. Probably capitalists and revolutionary leftists, because under Trotsky, say he doesn't isolate himself from like literally everyone and just, you know, make horrible plans that just end up getting him ice picked. I would say if the USSR is under his Trotskyist ideology and it's a lot more decentralized and it's not as authoritarian, I guess that's good for capitalists, but it's not good for capitalists because Trotsky would also be incredibly revolutionary and would be just using the funds of the Soviet Union to just spur revolutions worldwide. So there's just two things. One, it makes the Soviet Union a lot more of a antagonist globally, so that helps the capitalist side because then they can show that the Soviets are bigger enemies. And also, it would undermine the Soviet Union because they would only be spending their money and time on revolutions, which would cause the Soviet Union to collapse. Because that's what I'm getting at here. If Trotsky was in charge and not Stalin, the Soviet Union would not have lasted like it did. Like, Stalin was authoritarian and everything, but he at least like built a nation state. Like, he at least took the Russian Empire, which was not even really a thing, and he actually made a society that had cohesion. It wasn't just a bunch of serfs. If it was Trotsky, it would have been decentralized. He would have spent all of any money they had on revolutions, and then it would have just died, which would have helped the capitalists and would have helped the leftists that really like doing revolution and nothing else. So I guess if you like things happening very quickly and then collapsing very quickly, this is a great place for you. And I guess, yay, go Trotsky. Ooh, ice pick.
So basically, in summary, if Trotsky and the USSR don't work, everything good.
Yeah, everything good. Yeah, so it's good for capitalists because there's no more USSR because Trotsky just, he messed it all up. So,
right. So,
I have a legitimate good counter.
Go for it.
So, why did America land on the moon? Because they got scared from Sputnik and the Soviet Union. Why did America like create all of this liberty and freedom and capitalism, all of these things that you described that would be better in our world today? Because they had an antagonist. You exactly said it, that your antagonist falls apart within a couple of decades, but you literally make the world worse because without that high competition, America just doesn't try that harder. It phones it in. It goes like, the moon, fuck it. Global democracy, fuck it. We're just here. It's cool. Let's just chill here. There's no big antagonist to fight over there. Nah, no revolutions. Scratch the National Socialist Revolution in Germany, because all of the things that Trotsky does will fall apart. As for Craig, yes, I am in full agreement with you. France is the best culture in the world, but my scenario would be better at establishing it than yours because you would have almost a millennia of creating it.
How dare you?
Oh, this is crazy.
Okay.
So
can I counter that?
Oh, go for it.
I want to counter. Okay, you say there's no heel. You say there's no big heel, and that's true. But one, who needs the moon? The moon's boring. There's just moon rocks up there. It's not cheese, so who needs that? Two, just because you don't have a good heel like in wrestling, doesn't mean there won't be another antagonist. And throughout the 20th century, I would say that there's another nation, probably a good antagonist just like Russia, especially if you're from Africa, France. So what I'm proposing is that in this alternate timeline, America's enemy wouldn't be the Russians. It would instead be the French, because now they're unchained. There's no Russia to compete with them. There's no Britain's going to collapse as an empire, and France is going to rise. And they're going to be the great menace for America to really unify against.
And why does my scenario and Craig's scenario suck to live in?
Why do they suck to live in? Because they're not mine. That's why.
Oh my god. All right. So I can attest to what it's like living under a French world.
Ah ouais, Kevin, si continue comme ça, c'est le
I already do. It's all right. It's good food, you know.
All right.
But if Trotsky got to just spread all the revolutionary stuff everywhere, he might have contaminated Quebec. He might have contaminated France, because France almost went communist in World War One, and that would have been awful because it would have ruined the experience that is the community de francophonie and all of the glory that comes with it. As for Georgis, without the Crusades, France won't become the Frenchy version we know it today. You have to have a few Crusades. You got to break a few eggs before you make an omelette de fromage, as you Americans always say. It's so weird that you say that. So we need the Crusades, but what we don't need is we don't need the 7 Years' War going the way it did, because the French, Nouvelle France, deserve to win, and it's all Montcalm's fault because he sucked and he didn't appreciate natives or the Quebec allies. Done.
Yeah, you got to break a couple of eggs and holy cities and centers of the world.
You got to break a few eggs. You got to pour it in a cake, and you got to call it a quiche, and then you got to.
How did this become just French world?
This is wow, like complete by random. Like the choices are here. Like I can tell you the numbers: Antarctica, no Mongols, no First Crusade, no Fourth Crusade, Trotsky, nuclear bomb, Britain, Pearl Harbor, Alexander. But the dice, fate decided that we would pick these choices,
and it brought them in red, white, and blue.
Okay. This one's, I guess, a bit different than all the others. I think this one will be a little trickier.
All right.
Pick one between assassinations, geographical change, territorial change, which is geographical change. Gorky, I don't know why you wrote it like that.
No, geographic change, like delete the Alps. The Alps are not there.
Okay, so you mean like border? Okay, so like border change,
continents changing, stuff like that.
Yeah, geography change.
Cultural change or a battle's outcome. Just pick one.
Okay. Ooh. Let me think, because I know this is going to be a trick thing again, so I'm trying to think of
geographic culture.
I actually don't know what to pick.
Can you tell them again? I'm gonna use the randomization just to keep it funky.
Assassination.
Yes.
Geographical change.
Yep.
Territorial change.
Mm-hmm.
Cultural change.
Mm-hmm.
And the outcome of battles.
Okay. I'm going with battles, I guess. It went battle, culture, geographic, assassination, territorial. So battles it is.
I almost want to take cultural just to make it about how much the French don't deserve to exist.
Pardon? Vous êtes français? You.
That was for the waiter.
Okay.
When I wrote cultural, I was inspired by Cody's video on Japan and the religion, but right now you sound like you wanted to wipe out the whole culture. We're talking change, Craig.
That's
not genocide. Change.
I say this while I have like soon to be a French wife, so I won't. Yeah. Assassination.
Assassination. Okay.
I guess I'll go geographic.
Okay.
So after we pick these, explain why it makes for the most interesting alternate history scenarios.
Oh.
Okay.
I'm glad I
we kind of got your favorite thing, so
yeah. I was like, that's my default. I'm just gonna, if I have nothing to make, I'll just be like, I want to do a geography video. It's fun.
All right.
Do you want me to go first, or
I think we're back to you. Yeah.
Back
sure.
to me? Okay, cool. So yeah, geography alternate history is just my absolute favorite to do. And like I said, it's my default that I go to whenever I don't know what to make a video about, because geography affects everything in our lives. It affects our climate, it affects the food we grow, it affects how cultures spread, and affects how people develop, how civilizations develop. Simply removing or changing a lake can change an entire culture. Say you removed the Mediterranean from just geography, it would wipe out basically all of Europe. Say you would change the Sahara to green, and then it would make You would have this whole expanse of land that's nothing but grassland. Disconnect the Americas and remove Panama, just that small little area, and you change the interchange of animals and the spread of biodiversity. Geography changing affects everything. It's the most global effect you can do. Yeah.
You want to go, Georgi?
Okay. Sure. Throughout history, battles is the thing that people and chroniclers have been obsessed with. And today in YouTube, battles are the thing that brings in arguably the most views. So there is something about them, that confrontation, that clash of worlds on a smaller or bigger level that captures the imagination. And when you're, playing around with them in alternative history scenarios, it can lead to some really, really cool things. Battles are the perfect bite-sized chunk that can make for a great scenario because they are important enough, but also easy enough to follow. There are geographic elements in those battles. When you're changing, you have to keep them in mind. Like everything that Craig mentioned as the options, there's a little bit of it in the battle option, but it's digestible. With changing battles, people can follow it. Everyone can be involved. People who like culture are involved because of the cultural aftermath, and people who like tactics are involved because they like tactics. Whereas with the other choices, you will alienate some people and they'll be bored.
Done. All right. I'm gonna swing for the fences on this one.
All right.
I just thought of some funny stuff. Mine is the most important, no matter what, because apparently, if Sir Winston Churchill is killed, Nazi Germany just wins World War II. Because Man in the High Castle is the Bible, as far as I'm concerned. If Archduke Ferdinand, if he wasn't killed, he's the sole reason World War I occurs, apparently, to a lot of people for some reason. If Abraham Lincoln wasn't killed, he would make everything good just because he was Abraham Lincoln. So it's incredible how the death of somebody just causes such unbelievable ramifications. Alexander the Great kind of assassinated maybe himself with alcohol. I don't know. It could have been somebody. We don't know, actually. And then all his generals just broke up the freaking world and made all these empires that would last and then fight each other and screw up everything. Genghis Khan, maybe he was assassinated by that second wife, I think it was. Maybe he could have lasted longer. Maybe he could have killed even more people. And that would have been a world that Georgi would have liked.
No!
Sorry. Yeah, I'm going to continue. But yeah.
Genghis!
The great man theory is strong and well. And everyone still believes in it because it's the only way to look at history. Nothing else makes sense in this world. There isn't independent variables. There's just one dependent variable. And it's always a male. It's never a woman for some reason. And it's the most significant thing that causes such unbelievable stuff. Done.
Me and Cody had great arguments. We were on the track.
And then I just completely a joke of it.
This is why great man history is real and it's permanent. I can't stop it.
I just went down the path of all the worst things.
Destroy us, Cody. Just destroy us.
Okay. Well, yeah, you have your great man history and you have that. But what I'm saying is you can't have a great man without a great island, a great Britain. If Britain wasn't an island, then it wouldn't have the navy that it to spread across the world. It would simply be a peninsula, one of the various peninsulas in Europe. Why make even Europe a peninsula? If it wasn't a peninsula and just connected to the rest of Africa and Asia, it would completely change its history. Why even have the Americas exist? If the Americas didn't exist, then your great man Columbus would just have died in the middle of the Atlantic because the world was bigger than he thought it was. So, or the world, reasons for Columbus. He wasn't going to reach Asia. That's what I'm going to say. But, and what if Asia was as big as he thought it was? And then he lands in Japan. That would have changed everything too. Anyway, you're all wrong. That's my point.
Nice.
Okay. I would still try to make some sort of an argument and try to keep it straight because well, on one hand, we have geography as destiny, and it's the most important thing in the world. On the other hand, we have the great man theory. Not really gonna give that much of a response.
Really
we all know it's flawed.
Right?
It's fun to think about, but it's too small scale. Like we're talking about one person, it's unpredictable. You don't know who's gonna take their place or what exactly is gonna happen. It's somehow on a small scale and yet unreliable, and there's too many variables and too many unknowns. With changing geography, like changing the Mediterranean or deleting things or adding things, including half the world's circumference, apparently, there's no way you can accurately depict. Like, thought experiments are good, but when they're tangible and when they can teach us something. And I'm not saying there's no merit in geography, not at all. And I do believe geography is incredibly important. And by the way, there are peninsulas that have incredible navies like Greece did, but that's beside the point. The main point is that the perfect balance of everything you're talking about is just changing the outcomes of battles because they affect everything.
Done. No, I'll try to be more serious.
Okay, yeah, we'll
no.
I'm gonna try and be more serious while I tackle you guys down.
All right.
So you use the word tangible, and yeah, just putting a continent in the Pacific Ocean is the most unrealistic thing. Like, how could we possibly figure out what happens? I mean, it changes far too much. As for battles, who fights those battles? People. Certain people aren't there, those battles will change. So my thing does change your thing quite a bit too. Alexander the Great could have lived longer. It would have dramatically changed Hellenization. He would have done a lot more. Julius Caesar, if he wasn't assassinated, my God, what happens to the entire history of the Roman Empire? Is Cleopatra a queen? Is that kid that she had like the next Caesar? It's going to be nuts. If Genghis Khan lived longer, what is he going to do? How far is he going to get? If his offspring like didn't die of alcoholism, kind of like Alexander, kind of ironically, didn't die at that certain time, they might have gone right through Europe. So a lot of things that could have happened, it could have changed simply because one great man was assassinated. Or not. Done.
Can I do one? Alcohol an assassin? I was like, what?
Cody,
sorry, what was that, Cody?
I can try to do one. I'll try to do one serious one. All right, just one.
Sure.
So I guess so. Geography, yes, battles and assassinations do affect human history, but geography affects everything history. Your battle will be done on a plain or in a forest or somewhere that is affected by the climate and just simply where the land is located. And your assassinations will occur because of political reasons of, everything happens on the land that it's on. But geography, going back to what you're saying with Greece and a peninsula, sure, if Britain was a peninsula, it might have a good navy. But if it was Doggerland, like it was 10,000 years ago, that is not just a peninsula. That is a massive landmass that would pretty much encompass Ireland to Denmark. And that has only existed for the last 10,000 years. So geography really does affect everything of alternate history. And it's a little bit cheating having this be my point, because it's like, of course, it changes everything. If you made something a desert, of course, a city wouldn't be there anymore. But
I give more extra time. I wanted to hear it.
But yeah, it's kind of like there's nothing to even really argue about because it's just so broad. It's like, yeah, if that mountain didn't exist, it sure would change a lot.
Yeah.
Which one of ours is the best way to eliminate France? Probably geography.
I got it. Eliminate.
I mean, if we did do
or the Alps,
pretty much.
And
yeah,
it's done.
just remove the Pyrenees and Alps, and then
I want to open a small bracket here because it is so fascinating, and like I wish for a time or like a universe or some kind of a collab between like some really big gaming studio, someone like Cody, an expert on geography, an expert on linguistics, an expert in fauna and flora, and all of these people getting together and actually trying to recreate one of these scenarios. Like this will probably take a lifetime of someone's work to get done right. But I feel like there's so many interesting questions there that we haven't scraped the surface of, because you can only do so much with one person talking about the continent in the middle of the Atlantic. but there are interesting things to figure out there, because you can look at evolution, you can look at the movement of people and animals and waves and seismic activity, and you can probably find some rule sets, a playground to play around with, and come up with something really cool that is tangible. Because that's the problem now. It's very hard to talk about the Sahara not being a desert without profound expertise in knowledge about African history and culture and geography and fauna and flora and about so many other things. But yeah. Have you thought about that, Cody? Like, have you ever thought of like getting a whole team of people together, or imagine what a gaming studio could make?
I mean, it'd be fun to do. I think it would just mostly be like realistic fictional geography at that point. And there's a few people I know that do stuff like that. There's a channel called Atlas Pro, and he basically takes just how a landmass looks, and he can use ocean currents and how global climate patterns work and how clouds move and how geography affects air currents and everything. And he can plot out where a rainforest or a desert will be, or where like as an example, a cold ocean current usually brings in dry air, and that leads to a desert. So that's why the eastern portion of the United States is a lot more greener than the western portion of the United States. And it's because of that warm ocean current. And by using those rules of how climate and air and water work, you can actually just take a landmass and then predict from that. And then you can make the assumption, oh, there's a plain here, there's a rainforest here. And I mean, that would be something that I would love to do, but it would basically just be world building with experts. In terms of a game, are you talking like more of a sport kind of, or is this like a strategy? Is it like a strategy game of making a continent?
I'm not sure. Like, I'm looking at what some of the things Bethesda's doing with world building. Maybe they're the company to make something like that grand scale. But it could also be as simplistic as Minecraft or Civilization, like a hex game.
That would be awesome.
That would be so cool. What do you think of like let's say Westeros?
I think. What do I think of Westeros?
As a geography.
I guess we can. That sounds more. Are we still doing a debate thing? That sounds more like we.
Oh, actually, yeah, you're right. Let's save it for the banter. But I think there's a really cool topic in here.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have a few more anyway, right? How many more we got, Craig?
One or two.
Sure.
I'm gonna pick the next one. This one is gonna. I'm reading it right now, and it's difficult actually to think about.
Right.
What is the smallest change that would result in the biggest deviation? Real rabbit hole kind of thing there.
I like it.
Because you can go really small and it gets ridiculous.
Oh man. I'm gonna have. There's a few, actually.
I can think of one that's interesting.
So there's two sides of this equation. We need to say something that's very small, a small change, like you are just nudging history that's very slightly.
Yeah. What is
and
small?
You want a big snowball because of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what do you consider a small change?
Okay, I'm gonna go with during the siege of Antioch. The reason why the Crusaders succeeded was because of one Armenian traitor who opened one of the gates of this impregnable wall. Cody, I don't know if you've seen a map of Antioch. You could look it up, or Craig could put it up on the screen.
I'll look it up.
The way they use the river and the massive mountain for its natural defense is incredible. But I'm just saying that this Firuz guy doesn't open the door for the Crusaders, and they die right there.
I have a choice too. And I would argue it's small, because I'm trying to think of something that's really like not astronomical. Julius Caesar reads the he reads the note before going into the freaking Senate.
Oh, damn, that's good.
And I mean, there's arguments that he actually just did and he didn't care. I mean, that's the weird argument that he went to his death, but you know.
Oh, thank you. I'll use that in the counter. Thank you.
Oh, there you go. Fuck.
I would say I'm gonna have to look up my British kings now.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say, because I know who. I have the idea. I just have to look up.
What if Henry knew he was shooting blanks?
Yeah, what if Henry knew he was shooting blanks? Is it? I'm thinking it was Harold. I'm thinking it was Harold II was the one. Okay, I'm gonna say, yeah. All right. I'm gonna say Harold Godwinson actually chooses a freaking heir. In 1066, because by him not choosing an heir, it basically led to the Battle of Hastings and then the conquer of the Norman conquest.
Yeah.
So if he had just actually done his job, then the entire history of England would be different.
Huh.
I actually just thought of another one. I'm not going to use it. What if Alexander the Great literally just said, "Hey, you take over," and then died?
that is a much bigger version of that. That's a that's a good argument.
I still think they would fight though.
Oh, of course. They were just gonna be like, "Hey, did anybody hear what he just?" No.
No. I think he said my name.
What did he say?
Who took the ring again? What was the name of the guy who was like supposed to be the? Anyways, is it me who starts or is it you, Georgi?
Yeah, it's you.
Okay. So mine is kind of like a big classical Shakespearean moment, probably made up by Shakespeare for all we know, where Julius Caesar, he actually reads the note that tells him, "Hey, maybe don't come in today. You're gonna get whacked," like the mob. And he's like, "Oh, well, it would be in my best interest, given all the planning I'm doing to form this like empire with Cleopatra and all this batshit stuff, to not die." So he doesn't go and he doesn't die, and he proceeds to, run the life of dictatorship that he was doing. And my God, it's going to change the entire world. It's going to change the future of the Roman Empire and what it means for the Roman Empire to be an empire, whatever he's constructing with this kingdom of like Egypt and Rome now formed into one. And he has an heir. So he actually has a son, Caesarion. So all the groundwork is there, which leads me to believe that he wasn't just walking off to his death, mind you, because it sounds a bit weird for his character. He did all this and then all of a sudden, oh yeah, I'm a swell guy, just like Sulla, and I'm just gonna give it all up or whatever. So I'm gonna go ahead and say, like, it's just that piece of paper that was handed to him in a crowd, and he reads it in time and he doesn't get killed, and it completely changes Western civilization, which is sad to say. It's another great man situation, but it just keeps happening. Done.
Okay. Should I go second?
I would say, yeah. I'm still trying to think. Yeah.
I got a really good counter for you. This involves Hitler.
Okay. I was almost gonna say, what if they let Hitler into that art school in Vienna?
Big change, honestly. Have you seen his stuff?
Terrible. It's garbage.
That's not a small nudge. That's not a small nudge. Okay. The story of Antioch is truly remarkable. So, wow. With the power of magic and Canadian power outages, we are back.
It's that Rogers internet thing again.
Sorry about that. So let me recharge. A lot of people don't consider the Crusades to be, at the end of the day, that influential, but that can be so far from the truth because they just look at what happened in the Levant. But let's break it down. One Armenian guard who was up on the walls of Antioch, an impregnable city that the Crusaders camped in front of for 9 months, he sent down a rope and betrayed the garrison, but that could have easily been avoided because it actually was avoided several times by Yagisian, the governor of Antioch, who caught and murdered very violently, if I may add, several people who wanted to sell the city out to the Crusaders. Firuz sends down this rope, but let's take that out. What happens? The Crusade is written in retrospect. All of the chronicles are written after the fall of Jerusalem. So number one, this is a story you never hear of. The Crusades become a footnote in history that only massive medieval nerds even know about. All of this manpower, effort, and money stays in France and gets used against other places. Not just France, by the way. We're talking Barbarossa. We're talking Richard the Lionhearted. You're fundamentally changing the dynamic. Also, Pope Urban II and Alexius Komnenos will forever be known as the biggest charlatans who sold the Europeans an idea that got thousands of their princes and most important noblemen killed. This changes the dynamic fundamentally. The Byzantine Empire has to worry about its instant frontier again. Alexius is seen as more of a failure, and you are changing the dynamic in the Islamic world, East Orthodox world, and Catholic world.
Done.
That's good.
All right. Cody.
Sorry, I know we're not supposed to say it was good. I just love that argument. So,
thank you.
That's fine. But, yeah, I guess I was wrong at first. It wasn't Harold. It was Edward the Confessor. He was the one that didn't choose the heir. But basically, so my argument is that Edward the Confessor, by not choosing an heir, pretty much led to the events that led to the Battle of Hastings in 1066, because then it led to William arguing that he was actually next in line to the throne, even though people debate whether Harold was actually, he could have been like deemed the next successor, but like nobody knew it. That we'll never know. But either way, it led to William being able to toss his hat in the ring and then cross over, and it led to the Norman invasions that pretty much transformed England. Like England as we know it did not exist until the Normans came over and really just fundamentally, you know, made it French in that way. But that dominated English history for the next 400 years, pretty much led to the evolution of the English language as we know it, because that had that Norman influence. And then because England went on to do the things that England did, that kind of transformed what we think of as the modern world and the Western world in a sense. So it's like, yeah, it's not as influential as, or it's not as impactful as Julius Caesar being stabbed and Antioch falling, but it's something that I think in our current day more people are influenced by.
All right.
Mm-hmm. So I was seeing you were counting down, and I was getting nervous. I'm like, how do I wrap this up real quick? Oh no.
It's a lot better than one of the systems we came up with where we type on Zoom, like you have 10 seconds and then 5, but no one looks at this. Like it doesn't work.
You need to have
you don't know that.
You have to have big red letters that just say 5, 4, 3.
Yeah, that's not going to be intimidating at all.
Yeah, no, and it's just like super loud, and it's just like, gotta wrap this up. Yeah.
All right, so I'll do my rebuttal.
All right.
So off the bat, I'm just gonna say right here, I feel bad for both of you. This is like Mike Tyson fighting an infant. The outcome of mine makes or breaks both of your worlds. So you might not exist, you might be different. Like the state of Antioch, like it completely changes the game. As for the English language, it's like, well, is Latin dominant in the world where Caesar does all this? Maybe it's even more dominant. Maybe English doesn't come to be. Maybe a Occipitan becomes a thing. Who knows? Like, I kind of won this by being the one that's the furthest back, but also it's quite significant. It really changes the states that emerge, changes the empires that are lasting or emerge. I mean, this is really, it's groundbreaking. We're not talking just about like the Eastern Western Roman Empire here. Like it's consolidated maybe in this situation. It's going to lead to all sorts of things. Maybe Christianity doesn't exist. Like this really changes everything. So gonna have to say, it's like, I feel a little bit bad.
But am I saying that I'm better than you? I guess I'm going a little further than you are. Yeah, I'm fucking better than you, okay? Much better than you. You are garbage.
I'll end it there.
Because you said that, I will try to channel my debating energy and try to speedrun this. Okay. Changing the assassination of Caesar assumes that they would never happen again. It's like saying that one of the assassinations of Hitler didn't happen and that no other assassination would occur. No, everybody hated Hitler and tried to kill him a billion times, and everybody hated Caesar and tried to kill him a billion times. He was naive and he would let that happen. With the Normans, these are one of the most relentless people who try to invade the Balkans 4 times. So you think that they would stop at one invasion of England or not take another opportunity? They went to Sicily, they went to Spain, they went to Italy, they went to the Balkans, they went to Italy, they went absolutely everywhere. You're just delaying the invasion of England a little bit. And also it's a stretch to say that England is not the state as we know it today because of the Normans. It has been unified several different times, and it would be unified again under the Normans for sure. They're super close by. They go as far as Crimea to establish colonies. And again, on Caesar, he was incredibly naive. So many people already hated him because he slept with everybody's wives, and it was just a matter of time before they got their revenge. And it didn't take 15 knives; it would take 1 knife to kill him. And you can't just make such a giant leap and assume that he would never be assassinated. Woo!
God damn. I'm sorry. I'm gonna put a clip of Ben Shapiro over you that entire time and make it a YouTube short. I'm sorry.
I was going for the memes, and I went.
Oh my god!
You ever play fighting games and it's like you spike someone off the edge and they can't even do anything about it? That's what you just did in debate forum. Like there was no rebuttal I can ever make. Even like that was you were spitting. You just put like a track over that and just
did you breathe? Did you hold your breath for a minute?
I don't think you did. No,
I'm not sure. I really went for it.
I think you're speaking in Morse code at some points, and it was just.
Was it intelligible? Like, could you hear any of the stuff?
Yeah,
I was saying?
That was intelligible.
I'll put a notice. People put it at 0.25 at this time.
Oh yeah.
There was so much I wanted to say. I wanted to mention Valkyrie as well, but I wasn't gonna, like Craig said, like I'm about to slam dunk on you guys. I'm sorry, and I was like, okay, bring it on.
Oh man.
All right,
I'm not even.
Come on, you got this, Cody. Come on.
I'm not even the mental capacity to like do that. Okay, I'm gonna have to. Anything? Okay. How about? Well, okay, because if we're gonna record this, right? Or this is recorded. I think honestly, our just reactions to that is just funnier.
Pretty much.
I think if I react to that, it's gonna not be good, and I think that's a good way to end that question. There's nothing I can do.
That's pretty good.
I didn't sign up for this.
Nobody signed up for this murder.
I'm sorry.
I didn't know you could speak that fast.
Just end it at that. Next question.
Oh my god.
My god, that was great.
Do you want to finish off with the last question?
Up to Cody. How are you feeling?
Yeah. I'm feeling good. Yeah, I can do one more.
All right.
This is an interesting one. So I want you to just pick a popular event.
Okay.
Popular event.
Popular. Like something people like, or like it was just like people know of.
I guess in my head, I would pick something that's alternate history used. So if something that happens often in any Henry Turtledove books, for example.
Oh, okay.
People know.
Weird, funny guy on Twitter, by the way, Henry Turtledove.
Yeah, I like when he argues with everybody. It's great.
Oh man, I had this like exchange with him. It was really funny.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't know why. Like he thought I like said something I didn't, and I was like, "Dude, I read your books. I love you, man." Like, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry."
I like his books. I don't think he likes me.
He made
I've made a series of videos about his book. I don't make fun of him or anything. It's just I like some stuff is interesting, and I poke jabs sometimes. And
you probably sold a lot of his books for him.
Maybe, I don't know, but a lot of the comment sections are less kind because I'm not even doing anything. I'm just saying what his books are about, and then people are just like, oh, okay. And I'm like, I'm not implying anything. Just people are like, oh, I don't like that. I'm like, so I think inadvertently, Turtledove doesn't like me because of that, even though I've like never said anything personally bad against him. But okay, I'm thinking of an event.
Popular event.
Does the Black Death count as an event?
Yeah,
or are we talking like?
Does it? I think it does.
Yeah. Why not?
Or you could just do the siege of Kaffa, maybe.
Okay, so just like a general thing happened.
Choose whatever. I can go with the assassination of Ferdinand. There.
Okay.
Ooh, I know. I'm gonna go with. Man, I kind of want to do the the USS Maine exploding, but I don't know what the question's gonna be.
No, go with it. It could be interesting.
I'll do that. USS Maine exploding. Let's do that.
USS Maine exploding.
I'm trying to think of something like in that 90 seconds to explain.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Me too.
I've been
no
doing
idea
too
what
broad.
the question's gonna be. I'm honestly trying to pick something that go into a territory that we haven't explored much, so I'm just gonna go Agincourt.
Okay. I'm myself a little confused by this twist. I'm not sure how this is going to work, but the twist was, why does that event occur in nearly every timeline?
I got it.
Then I need a.
And you went with the Black Death? This is a layup for you,
he
Cody.
Went with the Maine, didn't he, in the end?
Oh shit!
I went with the Maine. That doesn't occur in every timeline, so that's a little too specific.
It doesn't. But we can rephrase our options. Like, mine could be the 100 Years' War either occurs in every timeline or the French win it in every timeline. I'll let you choose. You two decide. Craig, you went for Ferdinand. Yeah. Okay, yours is World War I happens in every timeline. That's your call.
Yeah, that's actually a hard one to beat, eh? That's pretty.
And Cody with Maine, help me out here, Craig. What's his?
Could that be? It could be Spanish America War, American Empire rise, maybe America rising, is inevitable.
Manifest destiny for America is inevitable. That could be yours.
Okay, so this is just like we're supposed to argue why that would happen in every timeline.
Yeah, basically, like no matter how many things you change, you end up with that final thing.
Yeah, okay, that makes more sense. Like
it's really good.
Okay, that works.
Really good here.
Yeah,
okay.
That's good.
So manifest destiny happens in every timeline. The French always win the 100 Years' War, and World War I always happens.
Wow. Okay.
This is cool. This is cool.
All
right.
All right. Cool.
Who should go first?
I think it's you now. I'm not sure.
Yeah, sure. I can explain why the Great War was always going to happen. All right. So regardless of Ferdinand, the Great War was going to happen. All the key players were actually looking for war. Germany, for example, had the Schlieffen-Pan, ready to go ever since the, it all goes back down to France, the Austro-Prussian War there. Like France wanted to retaliate for what had happened in the 1870s. It was bound to happen. Britain tried to do the Treaty of London to, thwart the possibility of them having to be involved in a European war, but they knew there was going to be a European war. It was inevitable. I mean, you have too many situations that lead up to it. Other than Ferdinand, it's like you have when Otto von Bismarck died, he had basically put together this machine that only he could run, and he was a master at it. It was stupid what he had done because he had made a literal grenade that you just take the pin out of, but he knew how to put the pin back in. As soon as he was gone, as soon as they got rid of him, it was inevitable that this great war was going to occur. So even before the Duke gets killed because he's an idiot who goes somewhere where the people wanted to kill him, and then he decides to go to that police station anyways, that wasn't really what started World War One. Sure, it's a little pebble that you can throw in the pond to say that it got it going, but it was inevitable because of basically the situation that arose after the 1870s. Some people argue after the Napoleonic Wars this was inevitable. It's a rabbit hole. It's one of those things. It's World War II is because of World War One. Well, World War One was because of all X factors going back. Done. Ran out of time.
Okay.
You want me to go?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. I will say that was good. That was a good argument, but I know. Just cut that out. Cut that out.
No.
No, I don't think I will.
So all right, let me prepare. Because everyone else is preparing, so I have to get in mindset.
Of course.
All right. So Manifest Destiny. Why did Manifest Destiny even occur in the first place? Why was it inevitable that the United States was always going to spread? And it was simply, at the end of the day, due to population. The way that the European empires colonized the Americas was entirely different than the way that the English colonized the Americas. Spain and Portugal used the Americas for extraction. France simply used it for fur trade. The English used it to build another country. They had an overpopulation problem, and they basically came over and just created another England on the coast. By doing that, the colonies had a higher population than their French and Indian neighbors by the 1700s. And at that point, it was pretty much inevitable for them to just expand west. That was one of the leading causes of the American Revolution, was because these people wanted to expand west in the first place. Ever since the colonies have existed, they've only wanted to expand west. And that's due to population, and that's just due to the idea that they wanted to exploit this area of that nobody else had actually claimed yet. North America before the United States was seen as the lesser territory, and there was no way for Spain or France to really compete over it, which is why France lost the French and Indian War, because they just didn't have the numbers to actually hold that territory down.
Done.
All right. That was my best attempt.
Pretty good one.
Nice.
Pretty good one. I often think, like, going back to the previous one, I have thought that we live in a reality that's a time traveler has gone back and saved Hitler multiple times, because it's like, how did he survive all these attempts in Valkyrie and someone like moved the briefcase? You know what else I thought of this about? The 100 Years' War. I feel like we live in the reality where they still won, because it's inevitable for them to win, but they won not as spectacular as in other timelines where they could take over England. My point is, there is no way England wins, for the same reason why there's no way France wins the 7 Years' War. You just have a fraction of the population. England does a fraction of the resources that you can employ, a fraction of the legitimacy. Even you had every opportunity. You took Paris. You had several really shitty French kings making really shitty decisions and getting captured. This was the easiest thing, the easiest timeline for you to win against France, and you didn't. Why? Because at the end of the day, Cody is right. Geography is important. The geography of France in that particular timeline allowed it to have a much, much bigger population, and it was also well defended by the people, by the states around it. Throw as many rocks as you want, change as many things as you want. Let England win the Castilian Civil War and the Britain Civil War and get allies and get the Dutch and get not the Dutch, the Lowlands. Anything you want, you can throw at it. The best you do is a slower defeat.
All right.
Good.
For the counters, I have a cool idea.
Go for
Basically,
it.
counter us by changing something. Create an alternative scenario where Manifest Destiny doesn't occur and England wins in Craig's scenario.
Ooh, I'm gonna have to think about 7 Years War. I'm gonna have to think of 100 Years War.
Yeah.
All right.
It's a toughie. Right.
What do you? That change? Is a tough. I can think of it for Great War, but 100. Man.
Yeah.
It's just so hard to.
Do you kill someone? Do you change geography? Do you get someone? It's actually insane. Everything that could have gone wrong for the French did. The Burgundians betrayed them.
Yeah.
So many lost battles, so many dumb kings, but let's not get into that. Craig?
Okay.
It's a good finale, I feel like.
So,
finale.
Okay, so I guess I'll begin with going after okay, so it's 100 Years War. I have to go after Manifest Destiny. Manifest Destiny.
That's really hard to crack.
That's
all right.
Both of those are hard.
So first off, the Puritans, for some reason, just really appeal to like the Americans, and they're like, that's just awful, Manifest Destiny. We can't go through with this because there's applications that are like potentially leading to genocide and other horrible things. And just look at what happened to the native populations when the Great Move going west happens. It just, you can't go down like that. So a lot of the people just get uppity about it, and like they protest the government at the time and don't allow for it to go forward. As for the 100 Years' War, I don't need France to win. A truce is drawn up at some point because the sides realize how bloody it could be for 100 Years' War. It was terrible, and they let bygones be bygones. And England just realized the geography of France is too much. They're not going to win. They just end up signing a truce in the end.
Works.
That's all I could come up with.
That you had such hard things to rebuke. Like it's a mountain. That's pushing a boulder up a mountain.
Manifest Destiny was inevitable.
I guess I guess I can go first and go next.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's think. All right, so French losing the 100 Years' War. The only way that's inevitable if there's just no France. Just everyone just gives up. They're like, man, this France idea, this is stupid. I don't want and then they just split like Italy. All of them, all of every duke and every minor noble, they just split Italy style, and England's able to just kind of sweep up. Maybe in the north, maybe they at least are able to take a little bit of most of the north and stuff. But it's just kind of like not even unified until like the 20th century. The concept of France doesn't even exist, and it's just like, oh man, wow, this is a France, crazy. So yeah, you want France to lose the 100 Years' War? There's just no France. That's it. And I guess going on to the Great War, I mean, I can say that it's pretty possible that it couldn't have happened. It's not like it was an inevitability, because even only a few decades earlier, Britain and France were at each other's throats. So perhaps maybe some. Oh,
I know. Sorry.
No. Okay. Follow that up. Go after Great War.
You should have been like, hey, if there's no France, then there's no Great War.
Pretty, isn't it? Perfectly balanced. This whole thing should be.
Oh, I should have done that. Should have done it. Should have, would have, could have.
Don't worry.
It just seems like France is the problem, eh?
Yeah, France is the problem.
This is such a France-heavy episode, honestly.
Yeah.
Okay. The Great War, I'm changing one thing. I'm making the October Revolution happen a couple of years earlier. For the Great War to happen the way it did, not only do you need the alliance system, you need Russia to babysit Serbia. And that doesn't happen if they're in the middle of a civil war. The alliances are different. Franz Ferdinand, gets shot, Serbia gets annexed, whatever, and it doesn't unfold the way it did. That's my change. And it's not a big change, man. I'm just moving the October Revolution by how many? Like 5 years? As for the Manifest Destiny, the cheeky answer here is to say that there were cattle somehow in the Americas that would prevent smallpox and make it really hard for those Englishmen to fight millions of Native Americans who are incredibly ferocious, and we see how quickly they adopt gunpowder and the horse. But that's not what I'm going to go with. I'll strangely go with a very popular scenario, and that is the South winning the Civil War. The South wins the Civil War, but not decisively. It's such a bloodbath, it's such a stalemate that America no longer thinks about expansion. They are now in a complete fight for supremacy on the East, and the West is forgotten.
Henry Turtledove would love you.
Yeah, that's a good twist. I like that. I was actually kind of thinking, I know this undermines my own. I was thinking like the South, getting rid of the South, or like a constant fight with the South is probably like the best shot there is.
Yeah.
Like North and South are just divided amongst themselves and they can't focus.
And
West.
It's a massive stretch. It's a massive. I have to say, Manifest Destiny really is one because of geography.
Yeah.
Simply because of geography, it's one of the most inevitable. Yeah. If the English make it, if the 13, no, if Americas get their independence, maybe even without the independence, the English are bound to take over because of the geography. But if you have give it 200 years of stalemate because of constant war, up and down, state seceding, and constant plagues are also going to be a thing. Like infrastructure is going to break down. Within those 200 years, I do see states like Russia, Japan, and Canada kind of encroaching on those territories, especially in California.
One of the interesting things, because this kind of shows how bad the South was in the Civil War, but I could imagine if, say, the South did win, there would be a manifest destiny, just not as we think, and it would be the South going south into the Caribbean and Mexico and stuff like that, and the North would not really have the capability to at least expand, because manifest destiny was not just the continental United States, it was globally, it was the Philippines. So that type of manifest destiny wouldn't exist, but there still would be some type of it through a very messed up slave-based society, like just conquering and creating the golden circle. So it's like you win some and you really lose some in that one.
You do.
But that was honestly, those were all good counter arguments. So
that really was a great debate to end it on, but we are not ending it all. We're about to move on to our banter episode, but for this episode, I mean, we had it all. Cody was an incredible guest. Really, I'm not going to go ahead and call you guys morons if you don't know his channel, but please check out Alternative History Hub. It's such a nice exercise for the brain. And even if it's not your cup of tea, give it a shot. He does a little bit of everything. And once you're done doing tactic videos and cultural videos, go in there and really exercise your mind in thinking of these great questions that Cody does, without being really heavy-handed on it and hand-holding and explaining every single bit. He leaves a lot of gaps for you and your imagination to fill. And I have to say the comment section is also very nice. Often you have a really cool community. And yeah, I can't wait to go into the banter episode and discuss some of the ideas we came about on the debates in more detail. And I genuinely want to thank you so much for the craziness and for being here with us. And it really does mean a lot.
Oh, thank you guys for having me on. I love these little brain exercises. It's very rare that I'm able to just have alternate history sessions with people, and because nobody in my life cares about this stuff in real life. I annoy them so much if I'm like, look at this. Imagine if this lake didn't exist, and they're like, I don't care. So I this is very refreshing. This is a great exercise, and that's why I was a little rusty at the beginning, because I'm like, oh man, I can actually do this for the crazy. So thank you guys so much for doing this. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Questioning history. Over and out.